Always do that.
I'm a night rider. Every time that I go up past midnight, I swear I get higher. Swear I gotta get higher now. I'm a night rider. Every time that I give what I gotta supply that fire.
What is going on, bookworms, and welcome back to another episode of Bookmarks with Bump. What's better than 1 week of Christmas? That's 2 weeks of Christmas. I'm recording this on Wednesday, December 18th. We are 1 week out from the Christmas holiday. And when you hear this, it'll be Sunday, of course, as it always is. And we will be 3 days away from Christmas. I hope you all have your last-minute shopping stuffed in. I know that I made a nice trip to the mall on Saturday to get some last-second gifts, mainly for a young child that has captured my heart in a way, that being my little nephew, Edison. His birthday was yesterday. A happy belated birthday to Edison. That's 2 weeks in a row of birthday shout-outs. That's 2 weeks in a row coming up now of Christmas shout-outs. I mean, what a cheerful time of the year. And I hope you're all feeling the warmth and the love that should be spread around this time of year. And if you're not, look yourself in the mirror and tell yourself you love yourself. Over and over again until you believe it. Nonetheless, we're back, and you better believe that. This is Bookmarks with Bump, the podcast about everything and nothing all at once. We go through threads, we go through football, we go through whatever I really feel like, honestly, when it comes to things to talk about on a podcast. When I was in the mall on Saturday, I had such a fun, playful interaction with the kiosk folk. These people are really earning their sales chops. I spoke to a man, Michael, who came up here from Florida for whatever reason, selling MGK cleaning repair kits for sneakers, and he really cleaned up my sneakers nice. He spotted me from about a mile away, and I said, "Hey, buddy, eyes are up here." And he said, "But the money's down there," and he pointed at my shoes. They were dirty, and now they're clean. He prompted me to put my foot on the stool. This is not a service that I would take advantage of. This isn't anything that I would necessarily really partake in. Having another man clean my shoes seems like a very disrespectful thing to me. Nonetheless, we had a great back and forth, and we talked about football for a little bit on that Sunday afternoon. He was a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, and boy, I left him a lot happier than he was at the end of the night, but that is later in the show. What else can I get into here? We had quite the week. I am recording this on Wednesday because I have some extra time today. I took a half day at work so I could visit the dentist, doing some preliminary things before I go see an orthodontist. I had a tooth knocked out playing basketball 2 or 3 years ago, and I always said that I was going to keep it. You know, it gave me grit. It gave me character. Now what I'm looking at is a hole in my smile. My $1 million smile is now a $500,000 smile. And maybe I'm thinking that it's something that I should get repaired before I move into my new apartment that I got approved for. We have some good news there. I was approved on an application for an apartment, and I will be moving in the middle of February. All good things going on during this holiday season, except for the chaos that is transpiring amongst the American people. We have questions. There are many, many questions going around about what is flying in the sky right now, and I have a thread here on the topic of that, which is the New Jersey drones. It started in New Jersey, and the thing is that I listened to Matt and Shane episode last night with James Cook, who is a renowned UAP specialist, UFOs. They changed the name from unidentified flying objects to unidentifiable aerial phenomenon as of late. Because, I don't know, because I guess they're making it more prominent. There are discussions within Congress about these things, but they don't want to call these things UAPs for whatever reason. They're calling them drones. Steve Sojak put out a thread. Okay, I wrote a post on this yesterday, but it's time for a New Jersey drones thread with some of the evidence I've been collecting from afar. If you want to know what's going on, start here. The thread goes on to say, if it'll load, for weeks, UFO sightings have been increasing. The strangest, most persistent manifestation of this phenomenon is happening in New Jersey, where hundreds of sightings of strange, large drones disguised to look like commercial aircraft are flying around every night. They fly low and slow over residential neighborhoods and sensitive installations, and even military bases. Drones that broadcast no flight information as required by law. Drones that stay in the air for hours, which typical drones cannot do. Lest you think this is just a big misunderstanding, law enforcement in New Jersey is concerned and stumped. Whoever is behind this, they seem totally unconcerned about being photographed and filmed, which makes it highly unlikely that they are secret military or defense industry tech. Wow. There are multiple video examples of what's going on. He goes on to say, while many of these look like larger versions of conventional drones or fixed-wing aircrafts, some appear to be orbs, with a video explanation. More orb activity in New Jersey. This one's kind of at dusk. Truck driver captured the orbs flying around in circular motions. Sometimes they appear to be something else entirely. And this just looked like a see-through basketball of sorts. Some are turning up at military bases uncontested, which is an interesting thing that James Cook mentioned, is that when there is a marked aircraft, such as a Russian or Chinese aircraft, it is all hands on deck when it comes to the Air Force and military bases in the United States. But when there's something unmarked such as this, it seems that they want to keep it hush-hush. Representative Chris Smith of New Jersey related to Congress this week how a U.S. Coast Guard boat was followed by dozens of these things with no idea what they were and with no authorization to engage or telling them to keep hands off. New Jersey Medevac had to issue a warning to their life flight pilots about drone activity posing a flight safety risk because these drones are operating without a flight pattern sent into the FAA. The FBI is investigating, but they have no idea what they're dealing with. The governor of New Jersey had a small press briefing earlier this week wherein he said, these drones pose no danger to the public, before admitting he knows nothing about them and that they go dark anytime a pilot approaches them. You don't know, but you're sure they're safe, Steve Skojec asks. People have tried to fly their own private drones to get a better look, only to experience weird battery failures. Another drone pilot with an unexplained dead battery when he tried to approach it was being interviewed by the Fox 5 News in New Jersey. The mayor of Belleville, New Jersey, says there was a briefing for 500 mayors in which they were told, we have no idea what they are, and we are having trouble tracking or approaching them. New Jersey Assemblyman Bergen, a former Apache helicopter pilot for the military, says his DHS briefing was a total waste of time and that it was amateur hour. Congressman Jeff Van Drew of New Jersey went on Fox News and said highly placed sources told him that these are Chinese-made drones being used by Iran, which is launching them off a mothership off the East Coast. The Pentagon quickly said that this was wrong. In fact, the Pentagon said that these are A, not U.S. military drones, and B, not the drones of any known foreign entity or adversary, which doesn't leave many options. The interesting use of the word drone here is what draws ire of myself. They are being called drones for a specific and strategic reason, I do believe. I think that if we were being told that we have an UAP infestation, there would be more chaos amongst the American people. However, when you look at this situation, it's almost as if we're being told to turn our head when they call them drones. This isn't typical. This really just makes you ask more questions, right? The thread goes on to say, look how quickly a private drone is taken down when it attempts to fly over Area 51. Do we really think the U.S. military can't take down privately owned drones? And this was a video example of somebody flying a drone over Area 51. It's there for 2 seconds before it's shot and captured. If you'd like to read more about the drone situation, check out his Substack on the topic. And if you enjoyed his thread, please give him a follow. I always put the threads into the description. I suggest you give him a little bit of a look-see here. I'm going to dive into his profile real quick. Oh, he's followed by John Cena. There's a Chinese balloon headed on a trajectory path to New Jersey. Of course, another Chinese balloon. The drone's looking for a nuke story as a ruse to throw you off the scent. This is a very interesting. What is going on? And here's what I think is going on, okay? And a lot of times when you see me out, you'll notice I have a tinfoil hat on, and this could just be a conspiracy. However, I just think that this is kind of one of these things where maybe it's a preparation thing for what's to come in the future. Okay, maybe they are planning a fake alien invasion, the attack on Mars style, 1950s style, except nowadays with everything that the people are capable of or have access to, such as the internet, such as video cameras of their own. Maybe they're using the public as a toy, as a part of this ploy to freak us out. A fake alien invasion. I mean, why would they say that? Why would you have one congressman say that these are Iranian drones just to say, no, it's not? It seems like maybe they do know more than they're letting on, and there's probably a reason why they don't want us to know. Is it a military thing? Who knows? Is it a private equity thing? Who knows? Nonetheless, we have things flying around our airspace without any type of authorization, and we're not doing anything about it. Why? Why are we not doing anything about it? That's what I need to know. That's what we all need to know. Just like the video example had of the drone being shot down from Area 51. If this was one of us, something would be done about it. However, we don't know who this is, and we're just letting it happen. That's a very strange thing to me. That's something that maybe we need answers for, or maybe the answers are already planned out. Maybe this is a deep state tactic to draw some sort of panic or some sort of martial law, right? Something that we hear about all the time. Martial law will be taken into effect and yada, yada, yada. Next thing you know, they're not going to allow the president to take office. Who knows? To me, there's some there are definite red conspiracy flags being thrown up about these New Jersey drones. The information that I provided through that thread was not really enough for me to say much on the topic. However, these drones over the last few days aren't just over New Jersey. They've been noticed everywhere all over the country as of late. So, to the American public who are listening to this, please do me a favor and keep your head on a swivel and keep yourself in the best shape possible, because there might be a time where we have to run. And maybe that's why I run so much, just to keep myself in good shape for a situation like that. Or just to keep myself in good shape, period. Yesterday was Tuesday, obviously, and on Tuesday, every Tuesday, I hit chest and triceps, and I call it my Titty Tuesday. And I have a thread here that relates to that. 5 exercises to have a huge chest in just 60 days. Now, let me say something to you quick. Just exercise will not build you anything in 60 days. Exercise and proper diet is what it takes to build muscle and be strong. Number 1 is the pec deck, the fly. The pec deck fly machine is a great exercise to build the lateral sides of your chest and also give you that crease in the middle. But there's a section of pre-exhaust, working sets, and then a cool down set. Go through a set 3 by 15 to build muscular endurance. Go through 4 sets of 8 to 12 to build strength. And that's exercise number 1. Exercise number 2 would be isolated dumbbell presses, okay? So not just isolated dumbbell presses, but you go one press with your right hand, one press with your left hand, and then a complete press with both hands, and that would make one rep. And this is an ultimate way to burn out and also engage the muscles of the chest. It's important to do dumbbell exercises while you're building chest muscles because you're going to use those stability muscles more. And it's not just like the bench press where your whole body will take over. This is a different kind of compound lift where more stability is needed. You can use incline press. Try to pause at the bottom of these reps. And remember when you're doing bench press or any type of press to pause when your elbows, when your main section of the arm, your upper arms, are lateral to your body, when they are parallel with the floor. You don't want to come all the way down and get your elbows dipped underneath your body. That's how you set yourself up for shoulder injury, which keeps people away. Your fourth exercise would be a somewhat of a lateral raise, right? But then you're pulling the dumbbells in together. So you're keeping your elbows at a 90-degree angle. You are raising your shoulders up, and then you are pulling the dumbbells together. And why I say pulling is because that's going to be the idea of the motion that you need to engage the muscles in the chest correctly. Your next exercise will be a dumbbell pullover. Okay, you try to keep your elbows in. You have a triangle grip on the fat section of the dumbbell, and you are going straight behind your head and pulling it back over the top. This is also a great exercise for the muscles in the shoulders, and the muscles in the shoulders are a great way to bring stability to your body. And when you're done working out, you can use a supplement like creatine. Creatine will help build muscle. It will also, according to this thread done by Fit Fast Coach, make you smarter. Joe Rogan, renowned scientist, told Elon Musk, creatine makes you smarter. It helps with sleep, lots of cognitive benefits, even performance when sleep deprived. No downsides, and it's naturally in food. Creatine might be a secret reason why others are outworking you. 5 ways creatine will upgrade your life. Creatine is a natural compound found in muscle cells that provides energy for both the body and brain. It's not just for those seeking physical performance. Every adult should take creatine no matter their age or profession. Before we go into the benefits, we must tackle 2 crucial questions that are on everyone's mind when it comes to creatine, so you can make a well-informed choice for yourself and your family. 1. Does creatine harm your kidneys? When you eat protein or train, creatine provides fuel and building blocks for muscle repair, and in doing so, a byproduct called creatinine is formed. I'm not a scientist, that's why it's hard for me to say these words. Doctors test your creatinine levels to gauge kidney function. High creatinine is a sign of the kidneys not filtering it out properly and possible kidney issues. It's a sensible and accurate test for people who do not supplement creatine. But for those who do supplement creatine, this test produces false positives for kidney damage. Creatine supplementation raises creatine levels, resulting in more creatinine. But tests are not calibrated to account for this. As a result, the data gets misinterpreted, giving rise to the creatine damages kidneys narrative. It's a narrative we know to be untrue because the impact of creatine on kidney function has been studied directly. The International Society of Sports Nutrition studied the effect of high doses of creatine, up to 30 grams a day for 5 years, and found it to have no harmful effects on healthy kidneys. You can rest easy. Now let's dive into the second big question. What is the ideal creatine dose? Well, this isn't entirely clear. There are 2 schools of thought on this. 5 grams a day is all you need, backed by Greg Nichols, the powerlifter, Stronger by Science podcast host. For anyone under 180 grams, 5 grams. For anyone under 180 pounds, 5 grams. For anyone over 180 pounds, 5 to 10 grams, which is backed by Andrew Huberman. You'll have to pick your camp. Whose side are you on? Now that you know the essentials, here are 5 key reasons why you should be taking creatine, even if you don't care about physical performance. 1. It supports mood and mental health. Brain energy metabolism is often impaired by depression. By improving brain energy production and utilization, creatine improves mood and reduces depressive symptoms. Research shows that 8 weeks of supplementation can reduce depression by 50%. It boosts brain power. Creatine improves the metabolic efficiency of brain cells, causing sharper focus and faster thinking speed. This is a game changer for anyone aiming to stay sharp, especially as they get older. 3. It improves evening alertness. Your brain needs tons of energy to stay sharp. Creatine increases ATP. It provides more energy for both your muscles and brain and counters brain fog when you're underslept or just feeling that evening slump. 4. It supports fat loss. All my clients take creatine. It reduces muscle inflammation and speeds up recovery. Clients have less sore days, and this makes them more consistent. The end result, they shed pounds faster and feel great doing it. 5 is it promotes healthy aging. Creatine helps protect the brain from cognitive decline while preserving muscle mass as you age. We now know that muscle is an endocrine organ, releasing myokines that are vital to your overall health. The more muscle you have, the better. Creatine's benefits are huge, but to see the best results, you need consistency, the right plan, and confidence that your efforts will pay off. And that is true for everything. Consistency and effort is the only way to get to where you want to be. And one way to help yourself get to where you want to be is by shaping your mind into a magnet for work, magnet for effort. I took a break from today's podcast recording to go train my legs because it was an optimal time considering when I last ate. That's dedication, right? I'm sitting down, I'm doing something. Well, it's either dedication or ADHD. And judging from the way I'm bouncing around from sentence to sentence, it could be both. I'm sure a lot of people have listened to this podcast and diagnosed me already on their own. And for y'all who have done that, thank you. I appreciate you not reaching out, letting me know what my problem is. As a man who is always looking to better himself, sometimes all I want to know is what the problem is. Oftentimes, that's all I ever really want to know, what the problem is. So that way it could click, and I could put 2 and 2 together and do the work to get there. Nonetheless, when it comes to being the best version of you, you have to make agreements with yourself. And there are 4 agreements that were picked out by the Mindset Matter Twitter account that I deem to be the 4 agreements that are probably most important. Number 1 is to be impeccable with your word. Speak with integrity, say only what you mean, avoid using the word to speak against yourself or to gossip about others, and use the power of your word in a direction of truth and love. People in my personal relationships can say sometimes I can be brash. One of the biggest qualms about me is that I give unwarranted advice. One of the biggest issues that I have is that I don't know how to stop giving advice to people. People come to me with their problems. Do the people I love, do you think I want them to have problems? Do you think I want them to live in that? Absolutely not. And as somebody who has dug myself a pretty deep hole and climbed out of it, I think it's important for somebody like me to share how I've done it. That is, as I've said many times on this podcast, my purpose. That's what God put me on earth to do, is to guide people in one way or another. And maybe they don't want to hear it. And a lot of times, and I remember vividly, while I was in the throes of my addiction or in the throes of my stubborn-headedness, I didn't want to hear anything from anybody. I only wanted to hear from myself. I thought I had everything all figured out. But I figure I still got a lot to learn still. Shout out to the song Dreaming of Naboo. Look that up on YouTube if you want an old bump throwback. Nonetheless, oftentimes people will say I'm a quiet person. And I am. I'm quiet for many reasons. I'm thinking a lot. I'm dealing with demons. I'm focused on a task, but when I do speak, I speak from a place of integrity. I speak from a place where I just have the best intentions for the people that I care about. And it might come off as me being a jerk from time to time, and I'm okay with that. And you're going to have to be okay with that if you want to be a leader. Not everybody is going to like you. And, you know, I do want to be well liked by people, but that's not the most important thing to me. The most important thing to me is that the people that I love on this planet are taking care of themselves and they're on a good path. Anything I can do to help that, I will, without anybody asking. I will step up, as I always do. Number 2 is to not take anything personally. Nothing others do is because of you. You don't make choices for other people. What others say and do is a projection of their own reality, their own dream. We all have one. We have to remember that. And see, when you are immune to the opinions and actions of others, you won't be the victim of needless suffering. Remind yourself that it was written. Number 1, what God's will is already written, and it's set out in front of us. All we have to do is continue to walk our path, and you have to, as hard as it is, and it is really, really difficult. And this is why things like this are important to hear, because you have to remind yourself constantly, what I do is what I do, and that's all that I can control. There's a prayer that's a very important and special prayer, and I think we should take a moment to say it together. Lord, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I have to say it at least once a day, because oftentimes I run into issues that I'm not causing, and by me taking them personally, I only make them worse. This is something that is a constant struggle of mine, and I'm sure a lot of you as well. But remind yourself, there are things that you can't change, things that you can't control. And grab a hold of the things that you can control and take pride in knowing that you have it. You have it. You have it under control. You can make the changes you want. You can make the changes you need. Okay, there it is. You can't make all the changes you want, because not everything is dictated by you or your actions. However, you can make the changes that you need to, because those are personal. Number 3 is don't make assumptions. Find the courage to ask questions and to express what you really want. Communicate with others as clearly as you can to avoid misunderstandings, sadness, and drama. With just this one agreement, you can completely transform your life. This is something that I've gotten really good at over the last year. It's just being clear. And with my background, with my history as an addict, with my history as somebody who's now 7 years sober, it's important for me, somebody who's been to prison, to let these things out right away, because hiding, whatever I try to hide or whatever I want to hide will always come to the light regardless. The truth always finds the light, and the truth will always set you free. And they say that because if people can't handle the truth of your life, they won't stick around, and let it out early. Because if you let it out early, you're going to weed out the tare. Continue to be wheat amongst the tare. Communication is so important, and it's important because people are always thinking. Even, there is a subsect of the population who don't have an inner monologue, and some days I'm jealous of those types of people. But more often than not, everybody's always thinking about everything. And when you're dealing with relationships, or you're dealing with work, or you're dealing with things that are important to you, it's important to have that clear and open and honest communication. That way nothing goes unsettled. The truth is very settling, and it can bring you closure, it can bring you comfort, it can bring you reassurance, it can bring you whatever it is you're looking for. You just have to be willing to dig sometimes. Especially if somebody's closed off and they're not willing to let it out. It's just important. It's important to talk through these things and figure out, hey, is this moving forward or is it stopping dead in its tracks, and why? What can I? And the reason why isn't always the most important thing, but it's important because you figure out why things fail. Like I've said before on this podcast, like we've talked about, failure is the best way to grow and the best way to get better. Going through those uncomfortable situations are only going to make you better. Number 4 is always do your best. Your best is going to change from moment to moment. You can't always bring your game. It will be different when you are healthy as opposed to sick. And under any circumstance, simply do your best and you will avoid self-judgment, self-abuse, and regret. As long as you know you put your best effort for the day forward, you can hang your hat on the fact that you tried. A clip was going around. The Milwaukee Bucks won the NBA Cup final yesterday, the mid-season tournament. And there was a clip going around of Giannis Antetokounmpo, talking about responding to a reporter who asked him if this season was considered a failure to him because he didn't make it to the NBA championship. And he went on a very strong rant where he said that this is the beautiful thing about sports, is that as long as you bring your best, you never fail. And some days it works, some days it doesn't. Some days the ball bounces your way, and some days it doesn't. And that's simply what sports is. You can't always be a success. Michael Jordan went 15 years in the NBA and won 6 championships. Does that mean he failed 9 times? No. That's not what it meant. It's not a failure. All you can do is try. All you can do is bring effort and try. And there's nothing wrong with that. And when you talk about bringing your best, there has been, on a weekly basis, something that hasn't been quite the best.
Here we go! Buck, here we go! Here we go! Here we go! Here we go! Here we go!
And I'm talking about Thursday Night Football. Tomorrow night we have another divisional matchup between the Broncos and the Chargers. This is Thursday Night Football, the kickoff of Week 16. Last week on the podcast, we already talked about the Thursday night game between Los Angeles and San Francisco that ended in a 12-6 final score. That was a kicking contest where the passing leader was Matt Stafford. He threw for 160 yards. Puka Nacua bringing in 97 of them. John Gruden said this, and I'm really digging the content that John Gruden is putting out right now through Barstool. Got me feeling icy, to be quite honest with you. But he said that for the last 3 years, we've been saying we got to stop Thursday Night Football, and I'm starting to agree with that. We all know that Thursday Night Football is a tradition that's, I think, like 20 years old now. However, have those always been the best games? They haven't. And I think part of that is due to the preparedness. People are coming in off of 4 days after playing a football game. I mean, I played in a football game a couple days after Thanksgiving, and I'm still feeling some of the effects of those hard cuts and those ferocious movements in my hips and in my feet. Even when I'm out on runs, I've dropped my pace down to a recovery pace on a consistent basis just to kind of be even keel. I just can't see the stretch of Thursday Night Football continuing for eternity, especially if we are trending towards an 18-game season. These players not only do they need rest before they get back into the next week of practice, but they need ample practice to prepare themselves for a game. And during this part of the season, the tail end here, it's important, especially because we're playing more divisional matchups, which determines playoffs. It determines the playoff seeding. It determines who's going to make it into the playoffs out of a certain division. These are very important games for the teams that are playing. You look at the Chargers and the Broncos games that will be played tomorrow night. Both of these teams are vying for the second spot in the AFC West. Inevitably, because the Chiefs are 13-1 and they're not giving up the top spot anytime soon. They could lose out the rest of the season and still be the number one seed in the AFC West. They could lose out the rest of the season and potentially still be the number one seed in the AFC. But it's just not, and it's not a good product. It's not bringing the best foot forward. It's not these teams. It's not this league doing its best. And this here is a message to Roger Goodell, and I'm speaking on behalf of all NFL football fans. If we want the NFL during the week, we can turn on the NFL Network where it's playing something football related 24/7. I want to see each team perform its best week in and week out. That's what's important to me. That's what's important to the players in the locker room. That's what's important to the coaches in the box. That's what's important to the fans who pay good money for these seats, like good money, like great money, like an incredible amount of money to get tickets to an NFL game. They want the best product. They don't want to see guys going through the motions. They don't want to see a walk-through practice where people are getting, it's just not what we sign up for as fans. We don't want to see it anymore. If you want to make an 18-week season, we're all for that. But let's give these players games to play on a week-to-week basis. How often, aside from action, which goes on during the week, during the college football season, how often do you see these teams play on a different day? How often do you see a high school team play on a Friday night and then play again on a Tuesday night? It's not that common. And it's not that common for good reason. These teams need time to prepare. Not only do they need time to prepare, as I mentioned before, they need time to rest. It's important. This is a very violent sport. There are multiple car crashes per game that each player is going through that needs time for their body to rejuvenate. I'm done with Thursday night football. I'm sick of it. I'm staying up late on a work night to watch crap. I could have gone to watch a high school football game and seen a better game than what we saw last week. Who knows what we'll see this week? I mean, we have the Broncos who are coming back from a comeback win against the Colts, and we have the Chargers who just got blown out by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That was a game that I had on my radar last week that I did not expect to end the way it did, in a 40-17 win for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are coming now for the NFC South top spot and a guaranteed playoff berth. But for the Chargers, who are a physical, dominating team, they did not seem to play that way on Sunday. Baker Mayfield threw for 288 yards. Mike Evans with an incredible game, 159 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. Just one heck of a game for Mike Evans. The games of the week that I had on the slate, we'll start with the Philadelphia Eagles and Jalen Hurts almost throwing for 300 yards. Saquon Barkley was held to 65 rushing yards, but a lot of that was due to the play calling where they just aired it out. In the first drive of the game, A.J. Brown, who went for 110 on the day, caught a touchdown, and it was the most obvious thing that could have happened with all of the drama that's been surrounding the Philadelphia Eagles this season. And how much of that is due to the people of Philadelphia? The city of brotherly love is quite literally that. I can be rough with my brother from time to time. And yeah, I guess they really do admire these people, but man, they lay into the coaches, they lay into the players. There's always drama surrounding Philadelphia, but they pretty much dominated the Pittsburgh Steelers, who had 2 possessions in the fourth quarter that went absolutely nowhere. One was a turnover and one was nothing. And the Eagles held the ball for 10 minutes of the fourth quarter and kind of kept their lead. They win 27-13. And then I'm hoping we see this game again. I really, really do. The Buffalo Bills and the Detroit Lions had a historical game, if you ask me. They put up 90 combined points. Buffalo wins 48-42. Jared Goff now is, I believe he's the first player in NFL history to throw for 5 interceptions in a game and win, and throw for 5 touchdowns in a game and lose. Jared Goff threw for 494 yards. and Amon-Ra St. Brown caught 193 of those yards. James Cook went for 105 total yards on the ground. Meanwhile, Josh Allen threw for 362 yards and 2 touchdowns. Ty Johnson being the leading receiver for the Bills on a team that just is making it happen. And this is solidifying Josh Allen's MVP case. We have right now a 3-headed race between Saquon Barkley, Lamar Jackson, and the aforementioned Josh Allen. I think what Josh Allen is doing this year is probably the most impressive because he's got a rookie as a wide receiver, a short slot guy, 2 tight ends, and some running backs helping him do all of the work. But Josh Allen still making it happen on his legs, rushing for 68 yards and 2 touchdowns in this game. In this game, which has been a trend for the Lions all season, who are now 12-2, we lost David Montgomery. The big thing going around, if you're better, is that David Montgomery, his rushing line for the season was 775.5 yards, meaning if you took the over, you would be depending on him to rush for 776 yards. When he was carted off the field, he was at 775 yards on the season, so all of those over tickets are now losing tickets. Jahmyr Gibbs goes for 31 yards and a touchdown in the game, but the Bills got out to a big lead early and kind of commanded the Detroit passing game to pick up, which it did. Jared Goff, 38 for 59, 495 yards, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He was sacked 3 times in the game, and this would be the deciding factor. Despite a fourth quarter push where they went 21, where they scored 21 points, the Bills were just laying it on all game, and there was no looking back for them at all. Khalil Shakur catches a touchdown for the Bills, as well as Ray Davis, the rookie out of Kentucky, who has done a lot of good work in the backfield to help relieve the pressure of James Cook, who doesn't really feel like he's getting any pressure back there. I mean, this guy is playing so relaxed this year, and he's getting the calls that he deserves. But Josh Allen, as an MVP this year, seems like a surefire thing with 3,395 yards through the air, 25 passing touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. And then you look at his rushing numbers. You look at his rushing numbers this year, it's kind of ridiculous. 484 yards and 11 touchdowns. He's on pace to fly past his 15 touchdowns last year. And he's only dropped 1 fumble, and that was recovered by the Bills. Last year, he lost 3 fumbles throughout the season. He's really not turning over the ball much this year. And then you have Lamar Jackson, who is having probably one of the greatest seasons of his career, who may be facing a little bit of recency bias because he did just have an MVP season last year where he threw for 3,600 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions, while rushing for 821 yards and 5 touchdowns of his own. This year, he's had 3,500 yards, 34 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. He's only rushed in for 3 touchdowns, and I'd say that's probably due to them having a defensive end playing running back for them. This is very worthy of an MVP, if you ask me. There's no reason for Lamar Jackson to not repeat in the MVP, other than the fact that he's got a team of stars. Some would say Zay Flowers, a budding star in his second season. Mark Andrews, who's been a star, coming back into form here later in the season as we go on. But Lamar's always been a guy who's spread the ball out well. Not really depending on anybody, just depending on the flow of the game. Isaiah Likely being a huge member of the team. Just Lamar Jackson, to me, is a generational talent, much like Josh Allen. I wish you could do a tie. I wish both of these guys could win the MVP because they're both playing phenomenally. The best football of their careers. It's a shame that one of them has to lose this. A big story coming out of last week's games would probably be Atlanta in their 15-9 victory over the Las Vegas Raiders. After this game, it was announced that Kirk Cousins would be on the sideline for the rest of the season. Potentially. We'll see what Michael Penix Jr. will do. They took a quarterback top of the first round after paying Kirk Cousins a ton of money. It'll be interesting to see moving forward what this team does, because it's not like they're out of the race. Last week they were atop of the NFC South, and now they're battling with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So to throw the towel in on Kirk Cousins right now in this season seems interesting to me, but there must be something that they see in Michael Penix that gives them hope. Much like when Alex Smith was the quarterback of the Chiefs, Mahomes sat behind him his whole rookie season, and now look. We'll have our first look at Michael Penix Jr. against the New York Giants, which could be very telling or could be a complete whoopsie-daisy. I mean, I'm pretty sure that I could go in and play quarterback for the Falcons against the Giants and cover the 8.5-point spread that they're up against on the first game of the Sunday slate. They have an 8 and a. This is interesting that they're 8.5-point favorites, coming off a game where they won by 6 points against a lesser opponent with their starting quarterback, with a new quarterback in. That's an interesting look, but I'll give Atlanta the edge here. Let's see them play with a bit of fire behind Michael Penix Jr. All good things we're hearing out of the locker room, so let's see if it translates to the field there on Sunday. But before we get there, we have that matchup I talked about between the Broncos and the Chargers in LA. The Chargers are favored by 3. This is going to be a tough game for both teams. Bo Nix came back after throwing 3 interceptions against the Colts and led them to victory, throwing 3 touchdowns to match that number. I just think that the Chargers aren't a team like the Colts where they beat themselves. This will be a tougher matchup for Denver than the Indianapolis Colts were. I give Los Angeles the edge coming off of that tough loss against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And this game has a lot at stake here. Moving on from Thursday, we have 2 games on Saturday, which is interesting. The Houston Texans will be taking on the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City, where they are favored by 3.5 points. Will the Texans be able to put it together? That's the question we've been asking all season. With a Spagnuolo-led defense, that's a hard task for a get-back game. I see Kansas City winning. Do they cover? I don't know. They barely ever covered. They covered last week. Then you have Pittsburgh going into Baltimore to play the Ravens. This is a big game for the Ravens because they got blindsided by Pittsburgh last time they played, and this is where the questions about Lamar started arising. So, big game for Baltimore. I give them the home field advantage. They're favored by a touchdown. I don't think they cover that spread. And then you go to Sunday. So, Detroit, they'll pull out the win against Chicago. Chicago and Caleb Williams just look like they don't want to play football anymore. Detroit is playing for every player they've lost this year. I mean, it's incredible the season that they're putting together, even though they've lost huge names on both sides of the ball now. Cleveland is going to Cincinnati to play the Bengals, where the Bengals are favored by 8 points. Dorian Thompson-Robinson will be starting for the Cleveland Browns. Jameis Winston is now out, continuing to turn over the ball. They're going to put the ball in DTR's hands and see what he can do. The Colts have a big matchup with Tennessee coming to town, the big AFC South matchup. Both these teams pretty much eliminated from playoffs. For whatever reason, they say that the Colts are still in the hunt, but a lot needs to happen in order for them to make it in these next 2 weeks. The Colts have a hard time with divisional opponents. The Colts have a hard time, period, right now. Just seems like they're not able to put it all together. They are favored by 3.5 points, though. And Will Levis won't be playing quarterback. That's right. I was going to say give me the Titans to upset the Colts, but no, the Colts win at home. New York Jets are taking on the Rams, where the Rams are favored on the road against the Jets by 3 points, and that makes sense to me. The Rams are on a hot run right now, and if they continue this run, they will claim the AFC West, or NFC West, my apologies. The Rams, they're just going to continue to win out. I mean, they look, even though they played in a kicking contest last Thursday, I just think that they have all of the pieces they need. They're getting healthier as the season goes on, and they want to perform well heading into the playoffs. The Jets will not play spoiler here. This game is really the only game that I deem worthy of game of the week, and it's not even really that because the Commanders don't seem to win against good opponents. The Commanders are inviting the Philadelphia Eagles in to Washington to play. The Eagles are favored by 3.5 on the road. I think the Eagles are humming right now. They're hot at just the right time, where if you looked at last season, this is when they started to cool off. Give me the Eagles. The Cardinals will beat the Carolina Panthers in Carolina. The Carolina Panthers were favored for the first time in 34 games last week and got blown out by the Cowboys. Kyler Murray is going to have fun running around in Charlotte next week. Then you have the Seattle Seahawks and the Minnesota Vikings facing off in Seattle. Vikings. Buffalo will beat the New England Patriots in Buffalo. They're favored by 14 points. New England just isn't there this year. I hate to say it as a New England fan, but there's nothing they can really do, especially to stop a juggernaut like Josh Allen. This is his division now. He has become the new Tom Brady, and there's nothing that we can do about it. Las Vegas Raiders will be playing Jacksonville in Las Vegas, where Las Vegas is favored by 1.5 points. We have backup quarterback playing backup quarterback. Question mark playing question mark. Give me the Raiders. Miami Dolphins inviting the San Francisco 49ers into Miami, and the 49ers have a lot that they need to put together here. Their defense is not playing the way they always have. They did have a good showing, though, keeping the Rams out of the end zone. Unless you just hand the ball off to Tyreek Hill every play this game, this one might be too close to call. This is a pick'em for me. I flip a coin, and that's who's going to win. Let's flip a coin right here. We have heads will be the 49ers, tails will be the Dolphins. And it's heads. 49ers win. And then you have Dallas and Tampa Bay facing off in Dallas to end that slate. For whatever reason, the Cowboys remain in primetime games, even though they don't deserve it. Give me the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who just completely rolled over the Chargers last week. I think that Dallas is a lot less of a physical team. And Trayvon Diggs is now out for the rest of the season, potentially out 8 months here. Give me another Mike Evans show. Baker Mayfield is playing some of the best football of his career. I'd like to see that trend continue moving forward. Baker Mayfield is just one of my favorite players to watch, and it's not because people say that I look like him. It is, though, because I usually wake up feeling dangerous. And, yep, give me the Bucks. Monday Night Football, the Green Bay Packers playing in Lambeau Field against the New Orleans Saints, who are decimated. No Taysom Hill, no Derek Carr, nobody. There's nobody that you can call down from the stands to make an impact on this game. Jordan Love is now playing some of the best football of his season. The Packers are vying for a playoff spot, and I think a win over the Saints will help them with that on the eve of Christmas Eve, Monday Night Football. Dun, 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 dun. They're favored by 14.5 points. Do they blow them out? Who knows? The Saints always play physical ball. But go Pack, go. Green Bay Packers win. And that's it for me. We went over a lot. We went over football. I'm still confused by the drones. I don't know what the hell is going on there. I do know how to get a big chest, and now you do too. Creatine, it's great for you. And the 4 agreements, if you take anything from this podcast, take those 4 agreements and implement them in your life any way that you can. And with that, man, as always, please subscribe, like, leave a comment, leave a review. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen to this podcast, and hopefully it got you through work or your workout or whatever it is you're doing. As always, it's all love. Thank you for listening to another episode of Bookmarks with Bump.
I supply that fire, man. I'm a night rider. I've been riding a wave like I surf. I've been leaning in and out of work. I could show you what it's worth. Money to the ceiling. I started at the dirt. I've been riding a wave like I surf. I've been leaning in and out of work. I could show you what it's worth. Money to the ceiling. I started at the dirt. I'm a night rider. Every time that I go up past midnight, I swear I get higher. Swear I gotta get higher now. I'm a night rider. Every time that I give what I got, I supply that fire. I supply that fire, man. I'm a night rider. Every time that I go up past midnight, I swear I get higher. Swear I gotta get higher now. I'm a night rider. Every time that I go up past midnight, I swear I get higher. Swear I gotta get higher, man.